Hello, hello. We're back for another show talking to Spirit with Spirit Speaks with myself, Karen, and Sandra Marie. Welcome, everybody. Hi, people in the chat. We're going to have another chat with Spirit today, see what they want to say, speak to a few dead people because they hate being called, and a few guides. Stay tuned, coming up.
You got to accentuate the positive. Wow, I feel good. A little bit of feel good goes a long way.
You're listening to Karen Swain, teacher of deliberate creation, accentuating the positive, showing you a way to a better life.
Accentuating the positive, it's not just fad, it's sanity. Who in their right mind would accentuate anything else?
If you feel like that's what you want to do.
Hi, and welcome to another show, Accentuating the Positive, Awakening and Expanding Consciousness on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 107.7 and 105.3 FM, syndicated radio, hitting around 120 countries, and we're streaming on 8 platforms today. And it's working on Facebook, on the UFO Paranormal Facebook page. Yay! It hasn't worked for weeks on the Facebook page, on that particular Facebook page. And we've got the gals online. And sorry if there's more than gals online. Shirley, Mish, Heidi, Vladdy. I know, Vladdy, you're not a gal. Much love to you all tuning in. So let me tell you what we're doing today. Let me introduce Sandra Marie. Welcome back to the show, Sandy.
Thank you, ma'am. It's good to be here.
We've been chatting already about all sorts of things. I said to her, normally when we do this show, some tragic, death, murder has happened. We've done the murders they're having what do they call it when they get together in court and talk about what happens? They're doing that now. You remember the murders in the shopping centre in Sydney that we did?
Yes.
That was over a year ago now. What do they call it when they get together in court and they talk about it? Anyway, one of the fathers of one of the girls said, I don't want them to do this. They don't need to hash it up. We know what happened. Why do they need to go to court and talk about it? I agree with him. I don't know why they need to go to court and talk about it, hash it all up again. Hey, Heidi. Hello, Karen and Sandra. Much love from Boulder. G'day to Mish. And, they're all saying hello to each other. There's a little group online. They all talk to each other. But so I said there isn't a lot of, or maybe there is. I mean, people are dying all the time. And I'm sure there's lots of celebrities that have left the planet, but I haven't heard about anybody, huge. Last time we spoke about Gene Hackman, wasn't it?
A couple times ago, yeah.
Yeah, was that a couple of times ago? And a lot has come out about him since then. Have you read the news? What did you think about?
Some, yes. And it's funny because it fits with what we were saying, which is always nice.
Yeah, it fits. But I remember him saying, it's none of your damn business how I died.
Yeah.
I remember him distinctly saying, you humans are more focused on how people died than how people lived.
And how people live, yeah.
Good point, Jean. Good point. Yeah.
Well, but he had retired from the public eye for so long. He just wanted to leave me alone,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But a lot came out about that, which was pretty shocking, actually. But a lot of people have died. When I say a lot of people, a few people have died in my life. What about you? We were talking about, I'll get some, and ask your questions if you want to hear a message from Spirit. That's what we're doing here. Not just your dead friends and relatives, but if you want a message from the guides, from the Spirit guides or source. What are you saying here? I did miss that part on the gravestone, how they died. Really? You want people to put on the gravestone how they died? Oh, there's Diane. Hi, Diane. I love it when you have Sandy. Yeah, the two of you are dynamic duo. Thanks, honey.
That's
nice. Thanks, honey. Doug here wants to get a message from Spirit. Can I get a message from Spirit? absolutely. You need to be a little bit more specific. If you've got something that you want to discuss, put it in the chat, or if there's somebody specific you want to talk to. But we were just talking about how you were telepathically communicating with someone who was in a coma. And because, telepathy, this is what speaking with spirit is all about. I think that people compartmentalize it. They think, you're a medium if you speak to a dead person, and you're a psychic if you do this, and you're telepathically, if you're telepathic, if you can speak to someone who's alive. It's like we put everything in compartments, but it's all the same. It's like when you're receiving messages from spirit guides, from dead people, if you like, from other people. They don't even have to be in comas or dead. You can telepathically communicate with people on the other side of the world. Or I was saying my daughter's grandmother died recently, and she didn't even want to entertain the thought that she was ever going to die, even though she turned 100. Well, it's pretty sure she's going to die soon. Anyway, and I said, what about we start practicing telepathically communicating with Bubby before she dies, so that you've got that connection before she dies? But she's like, no, I don't want to think about it. I don't want to. Anyway, so Bubby has been haunting me. She just thinks it's hysterical. It's like practical joking me, which is great, because she used to be like that before she went into dementia. But do you want to talk about, how you had that telepathic communication with, yeah.
So I have, I actually know a few people who are going through dementia. And they're in their final stages. In fact, they're in 2 different cities, and they're almost mirroring, they're almost having the exact same journey at the same time. But one of them is a member of my family, and her spouse asked me, hey, I know what I hear what you do. Will you please see if you can check in with her and see what she has to say? And I said, okay. And so I was doing a meditation one morning, and her name popped into my head, and I said, hey, how are you, baby? And she's like, I just need to be done. And I said, okay. And she's like, I need your help. And I said, okay. And what do you need? And so she dictated 4 pages of messages to people in her life, messages that she wanted to give to them to make sure that they understood, because in her dementia, she's beyond being able to communicate that herself. And one of the biggest things is she said she's ready to go. She's been ready for a while, but she won't leave until her spouse tells her it's okay. And he was adamantly against that. And she started having seizures, and he saw her in when she was in the coma and she was unconscious, and she hadn't moved in 3 days. And he finally texted me and said, I told her it was okay to go. And she came at that moment and said, finally he did. But she said, I still have one thing I have to accomplish still. And I truly believe that it's her daughter's birthday was recently. And I think she wants to get a little bit of space away from that birthday, so that the birthday isn't always connected. And she just said, yes, but soon it's over now, and I can give it just a little more time. And then it won't always be connected to her birthday. But the man that is here in town, and I don't know him very well at all. His ex-wife is a friend of mine, and he has been saying for months that he just wants to go, that, quality of life doesn't exist anymore, and that he's been to the other side and he's seen it. And a lot of his ramblings are things that he's having conversations from that side, and people just don't understand. And so it's given his ex-wife some comfort to know that they don't have to feel guilty that that this has just gone on so long and everything. And he's saying that I don't have to feel guilty that I need to stick around for you guys. And so it's beautiful. And it's so strange, because at first I thought that if I'm a medium, I can only talk to people who have crossed to the other side. But that kind of went by the wayside when somebody called me and said, hey, can you tell me what my dog is saying? And I was like, I don't know. And I went and saw the dog, and sure enough, I could communicate with him. And that was when it was really sent home to me that a spirit is a spirit is a spirit, a soul is a soul, whether it's encompassed in a tree or a dog or a person or an ant. And as
Exactly.
long as the spirit wants to communicate, there's a way.
Yeah, exactly. Have you tried telepathically communicating with people that, that are not in a coma or sick or anything, just like tried with your husband or anything like that?
I have tried, and my husband actually said, do not even attempt it with me. But
Doesn't he know that you know everything he thinks anyway?
without telepathy, I pretty much know what he's thinking. But
Yeah.
but I have tried at times. My grandson is autistic, and I have spoken to him. He's nonverbal. And I've spoken to him, and we're half a continent apart. But and I did a past life regression with him. He's 7, and we got a complete understanding of why he's nonverbal now. And we're trying to break that generational karmic connection to that. And in a past life, he used his voice to try to change the outcome for a loved one, and it didn't work. And he vowed then that he would never waste his time. And that breaks my heart. But he vowed that if his voice wasn't strong enough, he wouldn't waste it. And so the woman that he tried to save in that lifetime, she's come through and asked him to please. She gives him permission to use his voice for good again. And so he has promised that he will when he feels like it. And he's 7 now, so I'm hoping he feels like it soon.
So can his mother communicate with him in any sort of way? Like, is she using the letters that they use? Like,
their understanding goes beyond words. I believe that they totally understand each other telepathically.
yeah, of course, yeah.
And all she has to do is look at him, and she understands what he's thinking. And every once in a while she gets it wrong, but often he looks at her like, finally you get it, and stuff. And you can literally watch them communicate with no words, and it's beautiful. I just like to hear him speak. When he was little, he had this little baby voice.
Why do you want to hear him speak?
Because when we say, oh, I think Austin's thinking this, we use this deep voice. And when he does speak, he can say a few words. Like, I asked him to say hi to me the other day, and he's like, the last time I heard his voice, it was like, hi, Graham, and now he's like, hi, Graham. And you're like, it's a man, and he's 7, but he has a very deep, deep, deep voice. And I think of it as that's the last voice he used. But
interesting. Yeah.
It may just be the vocal cords, who knows? But I think it's all connected spiritually.
Is it your daughter-in-law or daughter?
Daughter.
Has she watched the telepathy tape?
No, I sent it to her after the last session that we did.
What that? Anyway, Vladdy's saying
time.
Here.
Yeah.
Oh, she needs more time. I wonder if he was at the hill as well. So in the telepathy tapes, they call this place the hill, where they all congregate telepathically and have a party. They all, like they sort of hang out together and chat. And look, it's not a new concept. It's just that Kai Dickens and Dr. Diane Powell making it, so famous. They go viral. But 20 years ago, Stephen Simon and Neil Dawn Walsh made a movie called Indigo, which depicts this. But these kids were not necessarily on the spectrum. They were just psychic kids, that they all got together and telepathically spoke to each other. That, like, I call it the psychic internet. It's like they get on Zoom on the psychic internet and speak to each other and have a party. They didn't call it the hill back then, but yeah, it happens. And I had a friend living with me or staying with me at the time, and she was talking to these kids, and she was in the bathroom, and she's like, oh, I've got Sandra here, or I've got Joe here, I've got Diane here, I've got Bill here, I've got Sally here, and she's got all these kids sort of tuning into her. So it's amazing to see, to think what the world will be like when we're all telepathic. Imagine a world where everyone's telepathic, and we won't need the internet anymore to communicate. It's amazing. What are you saying here? Where did Doug go with his question? I asked him to be more, he said he wanted a message from Spirit. And saying, not sure if you Are taking questions? Yeah, we're taking questions, but I have been asking my higher self why I have PLS and I'm unable to walk properly, and it's been a challenge. Any insights? Ooh. Over to you, Sandy.
Oh, sorry, I was waiting for you.
Yeah.
So it's something you signed up for. It's a lesson to learn in patience and challenges. I feel like in many times in the past, there have been either life has been easy choices for you, and you were unsympathetic to people who couldn't make easy choices. And therefore, in this lifetime, you went, okay, fine. I will learn from the direct approach. I will actually have to go through it. One of the things that they're telling me that you could do is accept that this is your situation and always keep working to improve. And one of the best things you can do for this is to say, okay, I get this. This is my thing. I'm not going to wish it away, but you can always, you don't have to like encourage. I mean, just the big thing is that you need to accept it, understand that it's what you've chosen to go through. And once you accept that that's the situation, I wouldn't be surprised if there was some kind of bettering, not necessarily easier to walk or something, but I feel like either your attitude or your situation about it will be improved.
Absolutely. Acceptance is the higher calling. I don't exactly know what PLS is, but you say you have trouble walking, and I'm feeling like you've been immobilized. And what they're also saying is there's no coincidence that you're having this conversation with us. Sometimes the soul immobilizes the physical form so that you develop your mental acuity and your intuitive senses. And they keep you still because, as humans, when we're active, and we can get out there and work and do and dance and exercise, and like when we're really active, it can distract us from being still and expanding our telepathic, intuitive, psychic ability. And when you're forced to be still, it like forces you into that meditation state. Many lessons in illness. Acceptance. All illness reduces when you stop fighting against it and you start.
Right.
I mean, there's acceptance, like, okay, I accept that I have it. And then there is why you've had it. Like, what is the soul wanting to experience from this, this illness? And when you find those reasons, you can be grateful for it. And that's where great healing happens, when you can say, I'm really grateful for it. So, Anne,
can I add one more thing real quick? They're telling me, do not take this as like it's your fault. Please don't take it that way. It's just what you've chosen to do, and nothing. It is just what it is. You don't have to feel guilty that you brought it on or whatever. You actually just need to. Acceptance is all key to this, and it does give you time to think and time to. They're saying, so the time that you have to think, put it to good use. Send positivity out to family and friends. And it's like, if you take the focus off of yourself for a little bit, you can expand all the goodness around you.
Yeah. And I think Anne's saying that it's like ALS, but not fatal. I don't know what PLS is or ALS is, but it's obviously some sort of disease. Everything you have both said is what I've thought. Absolutely. You know all this, and I'm being forced to do the work. You're not being forced to do anything. Remember that everything that is you're experiencing in your life, your soul is choosing to experience, and it is choice. It is an absolute choice. It's not like you're being forced to. If you feel like you're being forced to do something, then there's resistance there. I'm being forced to do this and I don't want to do it. So there's resistance there. If you can move into a place of gratitude that this is what you have, you're just going to feel a lot better. It's so much easier and more blissful to live in a state of grace and gratitude than it is in a state of feeling like it's happening to you and you don't want it. A state of unrest, a state of, Thank you. I'm practicing all that. I know you are, darling. Yeah, I know.
I have to tell you, thank you for the words you said, because I have a situation in my life that I've been like, why? And you just gave me the answer. So thank you.
There you go. Where did Doug go? Doug asked a question before. There you go. Looking for the next. Okay, so here's Doug. Looking for the next couple of months, hoping to leave my job and retire. I've got a lot to say about that you probably won't like, but I'm going to let Sandy go for that.
They're telling you that everything is your own choice, but you need to be realistic in your decisions. You need to weigh the pros and cons, and you need to make sure that the decision you make is based on reality and not just, there's a lot to go with trust, but also you need to take in the pros and cons and make sure that you can lead with your heart, but use your head. And they're saying you probably won't like it, but they're suggesting that right now is not the perfect time to retire. Not yet.
Okay, what I would say to you, Doug, is why are you hoping to leave your job and retire? It's really, being a deliberate creator. Like, I don't do predictive stuff. I used to do this with another psychic who used to do predictive stuff, because as we shift our vibrational frequency, as we shift our mindset, we also shift timeline. So when psychics look down a timeline, what they do, or what we do, is they look at the most probable timeline that's in alignment with the energy that you're in at the moment. I often tell this story of when we were really young, 18, we went to Hawaii. We stayed at a girlfriend's father's, had an apartment over there, and we all had psychic readings in the market one day. And years later, my girlfriend said to me, I don't believe in psychics. I said, why? She said, remember we had a psychic reading in the market that in Hawaii? I said, yeah. She said that person told me that I was going to die young, a violent death. And I said, really? That's what they told you? Wow. And I said to her, she was married with kids at the time. Remember, we were 18. I said, well, you were. At that time, you were. She used to date gangsters. Like, she didn't have a father complex. She had a like, the men she dated were grandfathers compared to an 18-year-old. And they were gangsters. Seriously, she used to love criminals. And one of her ex-boyfriends was gunned down in the street outside his Italian restaurant. Like, they'd have these flashy, Italian restaurants and wear open shirts with gold medallions. It was hilarious. The quintessential gangster. Yeah. And I said, at that time, that's exactly what your timeline was. And that psychic was not wrong. That was what was in store for you. But that shocked her so much that she came back from Hawaii and she thought, I better stop dating old men and find myself a nice man to marry. That's exactly what she did. So getting back to timelines, when you shift your vibration, when you make decisions, you change your timeline. So what I'm going to say to you, like, why are you hoping to leave your job and retire? So hoping says it might not be possible. I'm worried about this. I'm worried about that. Will I have enough money? Well, what will I do with my life? Blah, blah, blah. Like, all the things you're worried about. When you address the things you're worried about and you come into alignment with all will be well and I'm taken care of and I'll have plenty to do, and you line up with that vibration, you can do whatever you like. You can do whatever you like. You don't have to wait for psychics to tell you what's in your future. Yeah, go on.
I was just going to say, months ago, I opened up, I've told you before, I live in the Bible Belt. And so I think my secret, this might be one of the worst kept secrets, but it is still secret to some people. And I had a conversation without thinking. I forget who doesn't know. And I said to this person, well, it's with my mediumship. And he said, what do you mean? I said, I was like, oh, well, this truth time. I said, well, I'm a medium and I'm I have a session tonight and that's why I need my internet up, that I need your help getting it up. And he said, you're like a fortune teller.
I know.
And I went, okay, first of all, no. I said, something that at this moment is true. You have free will. In 5 minutes, you can change it. So there's no such thing as fortune telling unless you're very specific about something. And then you make that beeline for that. And he's like, well, I'm a Christian. And I said, and you don't believe that all things are possible with God and the universe? And he went, He didn't talk to me for about 2 months, but we're back to talking now. So I don't know if he says I'm okay or if he's just praying for my soul. I don't know.
I'm a Christian.
But definitely not fortune teller.
I'm a Christian. I made a comment on a YouTube channel. So there's a guy that's ex-military that has this podcast, and he speaks to a lot of whistleblowers. It's really quite a good podcast. I'm not going to mention his name. But anyway, I heard him say when speaking to somebody, he was asking somebody, what do you think about this UFO phenomena? What do you think about that? And he crosses his legs and moves over. And the guy says, oh, I don't know. And he says, yeah, I don't know about it either. All the people I speak to that believe in it, they're not Christians. And I'm like, what? You know, because he was pretty, as a military guy, he was like quite atheist, and then he became a Christian. And does that mean that when you start loving God more or thinking about God more, that you shut your mind down? Yeah. Like it just doesn't make sense. Like you shut your mind down to what's possible for humanity, like that there's life in the cosmos. To me, it just seems ludicrous to look out into this massive universe and multiverse and think that we're alone. That is just the most ridiculous thought, to think that we're alone. And yet, but if you're a Christian, you don't believe in telepathy or in psychic ability or aliens, or like, you know, you shut your mind off. And God is about expansion, right, not contraction. It's just
whenever I meet someone like that, and I, you know, we don't clash, but I hesitate to go further into what I'm saying. And they'll say something, I'm Christian, I don't believe that, and I think it's blasphemy. I say, so you preach all the time. She's the one woman I'm thinking of is a pastor at a church. And I said, so you preach all the time that God is full of miracles and everything is possible with God. Why is this not part of God's plan? Why would a kind and loving God not allow us to get comfort from those we love and miss? And she said, well, it's not in the Bible. I said, actually, there are some references.
Yeah.
And she's like, find them. And I'm like, I can't give you, I don't know scripture that well. I was raised Catholic. We don't do Bible study. We listen to the priest on Sunday.
Oh, really?
But I mean, like, I consider that I'm still what I call cafeteria Catholic. It's supposed to be an insult to me, I think, when people say that. But I consider that it means I still use my brain to pick and choose the reality, because all religion has a human element that can really mess it up. but so I consider that I'm Catholic, and I consider that there are certain things that I totally believe the whole Catholic tenet, but I also believe that there's more than just that, because God isn't just one religion. God isn't just one person's concept for everybody. So sorry, I got off on a tangent there.
No, that's totally all right. Yeah, I mean, I went to a non-denominational school when I was in junior school, and then later in high school, I went to a Catholic school for 1 year. And it's funny, at this non-denominational school, so it wasn't Christian, you know, it was like non-denominational. We did like read the Bible and all that sort of stuff, which I found really interesting. But the Catholic school, we didn't. And it was really interesting. We didn't read the Bible. But Mish has a great question here. Well, when I say great question, important question, I should say, because obviously she feels she wants some clarity around it. Was it in my agreement on earth here for my family to disown me, or is it something else really hard to process? I read that and I got so much information about it, but I'll let you go first, Sandy, unless you want me to go first.
You can go first. Your turn.
Okay, so what the guides are saying is that it's never an agreement from your soul to feel isolated, disowned, alone, lonely. That's your choice. People cannot understand you. Like I could say that about myself too. Or my family have disowned me because they think I'm crazy, psychic, spiritual, all that sort of stuff. You know, they're Catholic or they're atheists or they're agnostic or whatever they are, and they judge me for my. But I don't feel disowned because we have a different of opinion. Like feeling disowned is your choice to feel disowned. Mm-hmm. How people treat you is based on what they believe about themselves. So we were just talking about being indoctrinated by religion, and if it's not in the Bible, then it's not true. And people live their life like this, like millions of people live their life like this. It's like that's their choice. You don't have to feel disowned by them or separate to them, because we're all souls. We all come from the same source, choosing to have a physical life experience where we can cut ourselves off from the beauty and the love and the unity that is our source. And that is the choice we're given on this physical human journey. But your choice in all of that, regardless of how people think about you, is to feel that unity with them anyway. Like, I have friends that have disowned me. They've just said, you know, we don't want you to come out. Like, we had a group of girls, well, that's still going, but I'm not a part of it, that go out for dinner every couple of months, and they've disowned me. But I don't feel separate to those. Like, they're dying now. They've all been jabbed. So they're dying, heart attacks and stuff like that. And it's so interesting to speak to them before they die and then after they die. Because after they die, they're like, I'm so sorry that I did that. I'm so sorry. I loved you so much, but my judgment got in the way. So if you could see people as souls that really want to love you and accept you and feel, you know, unified with you, they might not do it because of their conditioning, but if you focus on them with love, you'll find that spark of connection which breaks down all barriers. It's so interesting when we think about people, we think about their behavior. And so we judge them based on their behavior, which is fair enough. It's the human thing to do. But if we judge people based on who they are as souls, we find that spark of connection. I've seen this happen a million times, where people have had really fraught relationship with family members, and then in a session or a workshop, they've started to find love and appreciation for that person. And that person they haven't spoken to for 6 months, 2 years, a decade, will call and say, hello, I was thinking about you, because they feel that connection. Right. So, Mish, yeah, go on.
So what I heard, the first thing I heard was, we all, before we come here, we all plan the lessons we're going to learn, or the path we're going to take. It's like, okay, so the way it's been explained to me is that it's like when you're there, when you're on the other side and you're planning for this lifetime, it's like you're picking your college courses, and say you want an art degree. Who in the world would think that you have to take an econ class to get that art degree? So, you know, you sign up and then you go, wait, is this what I signed up for? Wait, I'm changing my mind. And so the big lesson they want you to realize is, okay, go through the steps you have to, but learn the lesson you need to get to that higher understanding, which is exactly feeding into Karen's with the, if you send the love, whether they accept it or not, then you're doing what you can do to make the situation better. And whether they choose to learn the lesson the hard way or mend, that's up to them. All you can do is find your place in the situation. And again, acceptance seems to be a big thing in this session, because the dementia people acceptance, and the family of the dementia people acceptance. And so again, acceptance for your position and what you can do to heal yourself, and in turn your space and your people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, Mish, you said, was it an agreement? And I'm getting some more information on this. And in a way, yes, it was an agreement for you to experience the part of love that is called forgiveness. So there's a great book by Neil Donald Walsh called Little Soul in the Sun, which are two souls talking about coming to Earth before they come to Earth. And one of the souls says to the other soul, I want to experience that aspect of love called forgiveness, because when you're in source energy, you can never forgive anybody, because there's nothing to forgive, because you're in pure positive energy. So what does that feel like? Well, like, what's that experience like? And then the other soul says, I love you so much that I will give you something to forgive. So they come down, and then the other soul does something awful to one, so that the other soul has to forgive. So in that respect, there is an agreement. But with you, Mish, I think there's a bigger agreement here. I think that you've chosen the family that you've chosen because you wanted to more fully understand who you are as a spirit, as an extension of source energy, it's more about the agreement that you had with your soul rather than with one person or a couple of people or your family. It's that agreement that you had that regardless of your conditions, a lot of light workers, light weavers set up fraught childhoods, dysfunctional childhoods, to come into dysfunctional families for a few reasons, to heal the DNA, like they're carrying the sins of the father are visited on the son, like we carry the distortion on the DNA down through generations. And healers come into very dysfunctional families to shift that, because as we shift our own energy, we shift the DNA for the generations that come after us. And I think that you're all a part of that as well. So there is an agreement with your soul to do that, but also to have mastery. It's mastery says, regardless of what anybody else is doing or saying, I am connected to love, and that love comes from within. It doesn't come from you loving me. It doesn't come from you accepting me. It doesn't come from you even agreeing with me. It comes from me being connected to my source. And I think that's the agreement that you had. And what was that thing I just put down? Anyway, how do you say that name? Neela. Neela?
Amelia?
I'm new here, she says. How does this work? Well, we're speaking with Spirit today. And if you have a question, if you want to speak to someone on the other side that you've known here on Earth, that we call dead people, you can ask a question. Or if you want some guidance from Spirit, you could also ask a question. Speaking with Spirit. So, hello, ladies, sending you much love. Thank you. Light and strength. Thank you so much. Here's another question. And if I miss your questions, because they're coming in from all sorts of places, they're coming in from 8 platforms, not just the one platform you're on, ask me again and put a Q next to it. Put it in capitals like Neela did there. Pat. Hey, Pat. Is there something my higher self guides can share with me, the anxiety I'm experiencing when I walk? It has stopped for me. What does that say? It has stopped me from being active. What am I ignoring or not seeing? All righty, I'm going to let you take that one, darling.
I just think that the fact, they told me stop saying I think. What they're telling me is that anxiety comes from a place of fear, and your fear is when you come from a place of fear instead of a place of healing, then you are adding to the fear, you're adding to the negativity of a situation. So if you can find a way that you can relieve that anxiety, even take it in small bites at a time, because so once a long time ago, a friend of mine who happens to be on screen with me, I had a situation where I was a little nervous about a year ago. I was staying in a place that I didn't feel safe. And so I said I was putting a bubble of protection around me. And her statement was, a bubble of protection comes from a place of fear. Why don't you send pink healing light to the entire situation? So I think that is a very good approach. I have been trying to live that for the last year. And it takes a minute, because I think our human instinct is to have that fear, which brings on the anxiety. And so if we can stop for a second and set the anxiety, like the fear or anxiety, over to the side, and then say, okay, how can I approach this better? And I think if you can send that pink healing light or love, however you want to express it to it, it should help. They're saying, make sure that you are, we still live in a world where you need to be aware of your situation. But once you're aware of your situation, then send the healing light to a situation as opposed to worrying about it. And if it's not immediately easier, it's getting easier.
Yeah. What I want to say too, being on Earth, it's not easy. We come down here and marinate in fear. And then we start a spiritual journey and we listen to good meaning psychics and gurus and healers and teachers that say, oh, be love and light. And then we engage in our negative thinking, and then we're not love and light. And then we beat ourselves up and say, oh my God, I'm getting it so wrong. What's wrong with me? And what I just want to say is just like, relax. Your soul has chosen this journey, and everything that you're experiencing, the good, the bad, and the ugly, is what your soul is wanting. And love it all. Like, love your anxiety, love your fear, love your anger. This happened to me. I came into a family. Remember, I said light workers come into fraught families. Anger, like my grandfather will use explosive anger, my father explosive anger, my brother explosive anger, me explosive anger, right? So I was at some workshop years ago in my 20s, and I wanted to get over my anger. And I was always workshopping my anger. How can I get over my anger? How can I get over my anger? And back to what Sandy said about acceptance, when I accepted that I came from an angry family and that I was an angry person, the moment I accepted my anger, it started to lessen. And then when I found gratitude for it, like, what did it give me? It made me a stronger, I felt like in my anger, I felt stronger. I felt like I was standing up for myself. I felt like I wasn't being repressed. The moment I started being grateful for it, it just completely disappeared. Doesn't mean I never get angry. I still get, I'd call it pissed off more than angry, but I used to get explosive rage. It was just like on the DNA. My father was the same. My brother is still the same. He still has these explosive outbursts of yelling and screaming and getting red in the face and steam coming out of his ears. It's hilarious, but it's frightening when someone's like that. So yeah, take yourself off the hook. We've come from pure positive energy to experience the contrast this world affords, and love all of it. Like, I love my anxiety. I can't be anxious when I'm dead. Like, when you speak to dead people, again, all that stuff that we experience, you can't be sick, you can't be poor, you can't feel alone, you can't be anxious, you can't be angry, because you're marinating in a world of pure positive energy. So we come to Earth to have these experiences. So trying to master yourself is loving yourself exactly who you are. And thanks for that question, Pat. You're doing well. You're doing well. So Heidi wants a message from her mum. Over to you, darling one.
First and foremost, she wants to thank you for the forgiveness you gave her. She had great guilt over certain situations in your life that she felt that she did not prepare you for, or that she did not prepare you well enough for. And she wants to thank you for still wanting to connect with her, even though she feels like she didn't always. She had a lot of issues in her own mind, so she didn't always put what should have been right for you to be the forefront, in the forefront of her mind. So she thanks you for the forgiveness. And she says, and maybe if you haven't come all the way to that point, she's thanking you anyway for the grace that you have given her.
Beautiful
and
message.
she says that she feels like her time with you was short, but that's why she can. There's something to do with orange flowers or orange something that she says is a sign from her. I can't get an immediate response from you. So it's orange, something about orange. I don't know if it's an orange flower or a picture of an orange flower, but something. She says when you see the orange flower, you're supposed to, that's her sending you a message so that she's still around. So she just wants you to be aware of that from now on.
Oh, let us know how that lands with you. I think that was Heidi that asked that question. Keith. G'day, Keith. Had an amazing love awakening, he says. All my psychic abilities are now online. Woohoo! I am growing in leaps and bounds, and I'm excited to be where I am. But I'm also curious to where I'm going or why. Any insights?
Well, anybody who's turned on should just start spreading the joy, the light, the love. And you're only limited by your limits that you put on yourself. If you know, there are not many people that know that they're totally ready to go. So if you know that you're ready to go, then your responsibility or your next steps are to share the information that you have and the gifts that you have, and then watch it bloom. It's like you throw that rock into the pebble and then it goes out and all the ripples. You're the rock. Throw yourself into the middle of it all and then watch the ripples, and you're going to be a positive influence.
I would reiterate exactly what Sandy says. It's not like, I always say to everyone that's attracted to my work, you're all teachers. But a teacher isn't somebody that has to get on YouTube and do what we're doing, or start a podcast or write a book or get on stage. A teacher is someone that shares their experiences, even when they feel like they're going to be judged. And like Sandy, you said was it the electrician, I'm a medium, and he said, oh, I'm a Christian, that's terrible. Like, you shared who you were openly, and you weren't in fear, because we are moving, like the whole of humanity is in an exponential shift into a new experience here on planet Earth, where all our telepathic and psychic abilities are coming online. Even if it doesn't for some and they die off and they'll come back, they will. I was saying to Sandy before we started the live that I was watching this young man on Portal to Ascension talking about all his amazing psychic abilities. He can leave his body at will. He travels through the cosmos. He can remote view. He just does anything you can imagine he can do at will. And I had this insight of, in a future time, everyone on earth will be like him. And they'll look back and they'll say, remember in history when people didn't know how to do this stuff? Like, isn't that strange that you don't know how to do it? It's like, it'll be weird that you don't know how to do it rather than weird that you do. And
I just heard it. Yeah. I just heard that it's like indoor plumbing.
Yeah.
That's too funny.
But while we're in this shift, moving from one understanding to another, to keep quiet what hasn't happened to you, just share it with people. Start, join groups. Yeah, just start sharing it and see where that goes. Like, see what that brings you. You might have a lot of pushback, and you might have not a lot of pushback. You might find friends, soulmates, soul family. Yeah.
When I first started believing that I could hear messages and that it actually was not my imagination, the woman she owns a shop here in town, and I went to her and I said, I get these messages sometimes, and I really think, I believe that people are telling me that it's what it is. And she's like, okay. I said, and I don't tell that many people. And she said, why? And I said, well, because isn't this a little weird? And she's like,
exactly.
Only if you think it is. And if you're getting it and it's your lifestyle. She said, the problem is that enough people don't speak about it. And therefore they think it's a taboo subject, and people go, oh, I don't want to be thought of as weird. Well, what if the time comes when the people that don't believe it are the weird ones?
Exactly.
And so now I'm a little braver. I don't necessarily tell my employers, but
well, not yet.
People, not yet. But I do believe that a former
She's not
employer,
all the way out of the closet yet.
Yeah, I've got like one whole leg and half my body.
I know.
The funny thing is for me, I forget who does and doesn't know. And sometimes like I did with that guy, I said, it's from my mediumship session, and I went, oh, he's one of the. Well, he knows now.
He's one of those. I know you said this to me before. You live in the Bible Belt, so yeah. Like, I've just always been really open about who I am and telling people right from the get-go, even knowing that they're going to judge me. I don't care. I'm really open. But working with Sandy, she's like, no, if I'm going to set up shop as a medium, I'm not going to use my married name. Like, you were sort of compartmentalizing your life. There's the normal me, and then there's the psychic me. But I really want to merge those two people.
I'm working on it. I will say this. The reason that I don't use my married name is because, to me, that's not my name. That's not what I was born into.
Yeah, fair enough.
So it doesn't have anything necessarily, because I was out with my married name before, but when I decided to just go forward, I went, it doesn't feel right, because that's not the name I was born with. So I just stay with my name as is.
Yeah. Sandra Marie. Okay. So Heidi says she's been drawn to orange flowers. Thank you, Sandra. Good. Resonates. And ED here. Hey, ED, any messages from spirit from me, please? And I'm going to say to you and anyone else that asks a question, you have to get more specific, because here's the thing. There's always messages from spirit. Like, they're always around us all the time. But there's this clause called free will on earth where they're not going to tell you what to do with your life. But if you ask a question, they will answer. So with my guides, I find that they're very chatty. But then I am the eternal question asker. Like, what does that mean about that? Tell me more about this. What's that mean? What does that? I'm always asking questions. And so I get a lot of guidance, like a lot of guidance. But just like, has spirit got a message from me? They're like, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. What do you want to know about is what I heard.
What do you want to know?
What do you want to know about?
Say that to everybody who's asking for guidance. And remember that, okay. The message that's come through for you, ED, finding a place to live, is know that you've got your own guidance and listen to it. Listen to it. Even listen to it. Finding a place to live. I'm going to say that to you too. Visualize it. Remember, we are creators of our reality. What you want to live in, you might not be in alignment with exactly what you want now. There might be steps taken before you find that place, but visualize it. Know that you can have it. See yourself living there. Find that feeling place. Edie says thank you. Yeah. And Heidi says so many messages all around us. Yeah, absolutely, Heidi. Do you want to say anything to ED?
All I was just going to say is they said the minute you step on the sidewalk to the place, they're talking about the very specific place, not the city, not the place he's going, but until he finds that space where he'll know when he's come home, is what they keep saying. He'll know when he comes home, is what they keep saying.
I get the shivers. Oh, sorry, I'm just reading all these. Nadine says here, I have a question. The shivers. Oh, I get the shivers. But in a pleasant way, for no reason. Part of me thinks it is angels telling me to pay attention, but sometimes I think I'm making it all up, of course. How do you know? I think it's a pretty clear if you're getting the shivers for no reason.
Yeah. You already have it said. It's trust.
Clear.
It's just trusting your own knowing. If you believe it's a sign, I always tell the people that I do readings for, when they say I need a sign, well, set up a sign. And if you see it as a sign, guess what? It's a sign. And that's your intuition. That's your own inner guidance telling you, hey, this is a sign. Take it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's trust. So trust in your own process.
Yeah, that's a pretty clear sign. When I was young, I did a mediumship course, a healing course, really. It was about learning healing, but we were also learning how to read people's energy, look in their body, speak to their spirit guides. It was fabulous. I loved it. It was just so much fun. But anyway, I was seeing things that weren't in the curriculum. So at the end of the course, we had this little group. I think I've shared this before, but I'll share it again. We had this little group where someone stood in the middle and sort of did readings for everyone in this little group, and we would ask them questions. So I asked this girl a question. I see lights everywhere. What are the lights? And she looked at the instructor and said, we didn't cover that in the course. And that's why I asked the question, because it wasn't covered in the course. And I did know what they were, but I didn't trust it, and I wanted some confirmation. And so the instructor said, we have just spent, the weekend learning to speak to God. We would go up and speak to God and ask God for the answer. Don't ask me or the course to cover it. Just ask God. That was the vernacular that we were using. Ask God, or ask your guides, or ask the universe, or your higher self, or whatever you want to call it. So she goes, oh, okay. So she quiets in her eyes, and she comes to, she says, I'm not really getting anything except I just got this. Know that we're always with you. And that's all she needed to say. I just burst into tears, because I knew that they were like dead people, spirit guides, galactic. I knew that they were the mob, right? Showing me in my physical eyes that they're around me. Right. And they do it, it still happens all day, every day. I see lights all the time. And so what I do when I'm watching television, and I'll see a big blue orb floating next to the television, or a spark of golden light, it's a sign that they're there. I'll speak to it. So with your shivers too, speak to that. oh, what are you responding to? What thought did I have at the time that I noticed that?
Right.
Is there something that you want to share with me? And like, listen. Often when I'm watching television, I ask that question, oh, is there something you want to share with me? I'll get nothing. I'll just go back to watching television. But they're just there, you know, saying, you're never alone. We're here. We're all around you all the time. It's so cool.
I had a friend who really she asked the same question for 2 years. Same question. Should I see with this man? Should I be with this man? Should I be with this man?
Right.
And her dad came through every time she asked a question about him. And he finally said, okay, give me a sign. Tell me what you want to see if it's a no. And she said, okay. And we live in the Midwest, but we're not in the country. We're not cowboys, right? And she said, all right, I need to see a cowboy hat, because she thought she'd make it really difficult for her father to tell her this is not a good idea, right? And she, later in the day, she went and she got a pizza, and she had to wait for it to be picked. You know, she ordered it at the thing. It was right after COVID. So she ordered it at the counter and had to wait for it to be ready. And she sat down, and there was a cowboy hat sitting right next to her. And she went, oh my gosh, no, that's wrong. You got it wrong. That's not a sign. And and you know what? It took her 2.5 years after he moved in to finally go, I think my dad was right. Oh, really? He gave you a cowboy hat in the middle of a city, girl. How much more could you ask for?
Yeah, exactly. And Keith's come back to us and he says he can't keep quiet, lol. He's got to share. Because he was saying, you know, I'm getting all this stuff.
Yeah.
Somebody did ask, I saw a question. Oh, Desley, sorry, Desley. I saw another question. Mark Valentine. Hey, Mark, how are you? Sending love. Goodness, why be goodness, grace up. Somebody asked about love somewhere here. If I've missed your question again, pop it in. Desley, my friend here, what is he saying here? Has stage 4 cancer. Will she find peace regarding the outcome?
Regardless of the outcome, yes.
Regardless of the outcome.
We're back to acceptance. It seems like a running theme tonight. The deal is that it was put in her place for her to find the peace that she needs to find. And therefore it may take her a little bit, but I've never known anybody. I truly have never known anybody who, once they've passed, and I'm not saying she's passing, I'm just saying that once they've passed, has said, no, I wasn't ready. You know, they always are like, you come to this moment of acceptance and it doesn't happen until you accept it. Now, I know moments of accidents and stuff like that are different, but with an illness, you have this moment of clarity at some point. And I think that's where they find their peace, in that moment of clarity.
Mm. So I want to ask you, Desley, why are you asking this question? Because I think this question is more about you than it is about her. Like, who am I in her journey? How can I help her find peace? What can I say to her? Because I'm getting that she's not somebody that's so on board with this conversation. And, you could give her some healing, some health advice. Would that help her find peace? Probably not. So in regards to will she find peace, I got a very clear, while she's still incarnated, no. Eventually she'll find peace when she passes, but in this lifetime, no. So the question is, who am I around this? How can I help her? And I'm going to go back to what we told, was it ED or Keith? Just sharing what you know, like being brave enough to share what you know about life after death. It might still never give her the peace that you want for her, but it'll definitely help her in some regards. Just sharing what you know, that there is no death. I know it's not easy. I go to funerals and always say that I'm going to talk about stuff that I'm getting, and I don't. I went to a friend's father's funeral not long ago, 6 months ago, and her brother was standing up talking, and I got a very clear message for him from the father that I didn't share. I shared it with my friend, but I didn't share it with him, and I regret it now because I didn't work up, because I wasn't in that environment where I felt like it would be accepted, and I didn't know the brother. He lives overseas. He lives in the States, actually. But the father sent a very clear message to him, and I didn't go up and tell him, and I regret it. So I know it's not always easy. You got to be brave. But yeah, helping people find peace. Yeah, it can be scary sometimes when you know you're going to say something that you feel might be judged.
Or
Yeah.
be, one of the things is you want to give comfort and you don't want to give stress.
Yeah, you don't want to stress
And
them out
so,
more. Yeah.
You worry about that. That's why I said anybody who's crossed over, I've never heard anybody say, no, I wasn't ready. It's just that you realize that, and in that moment of clarity, whether it comes after you've crossed over, a lot of the people I've talked to say, I didn't go through that last trauma. My soul had already left the body. So
yeah,
their acceptance, their heart may still be beating on this side, but their acceptance, they've crossed over. And some,
yeah.
I actually met a soul who's like, no, I'm not even happy I died. And you're like, oh, and I love when they go, now do something with that for me. And I go, oh, okay, well, what do you want me to tell your loved one? You want them, and then it gets to, but many of them say, I'm sorry that I got cheated out of the time with you. But I had that one lady that came through and said, no, I'm still not happy I left. And I was like, do you want me to tell your family member that? She's like, no, tell them I love them. And da, 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 da. And she gave us specific instructions on where to find a letter she'd written, which was good, but it was not that angry part. So, I've only met one person who was mad still.
Well,
Or soul.
you're speaking to the personality. Obviously, they're donning the personality,
right, not the higher self.
Yeah, and people are never unhappy that they're dead. What they're unhappy about is that they didn't fulfill what they came to do.
Right.
There's a frustration.
They didn't feel like they were finished. Yeah.
Well, yeah, finished, or I came into this life specifically because I wanted to experience this, and I didn't make that happen. And that can happen lifetime over lifetime over, I'm going to go back and try again. I'm going to go back and try it again. So there's a frustration that, they weren't finished. They didn't do but they also know that they have eternity to play with. So I think that the unhappiness is them showing their personality so that when you speak to the people that know them, they know that personality and they'll connect. Oh, yeah, that was her. Yeah, she'd be totally unhappy that she's dead. Like, that was it.
And that's what her daughter ended up saying. She said, so
Exactly.
My mom did not express that she was pissed that she died. And I'm like, well, yeah, she did. And she's like, just tell it all to me. So we did. We had a really good session after that.
Yeah.
But it was a different session than most. Yes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm going to get a reading from you too for my daughter and her dad. But I just want to tell you what happened. So recently, my daughter's grandmother, her father's mother, died. She had turned 100 in April. And my daughter knew that she was going to turn 100 and die, but she was just dreading it because she's just still traumatized by death. I don't know why. She has a medium as a mother, but she's still traumatized by death. Well, free will. Mind you, when I die, she'll be talking to me. She'll be the medium then. Yeah. Anyway, and so she had dementia for quite a long time. So she was a feisty woman, an Aries, she was a feisty woman. But with dementia, she was very demure. So she'd been demure for a long time. But she was haunting me. It was hilarious. So when she died in the middle of the night, I was alone in the house at the time. In the middle of the night, I'm asleep in bed. It's past midnight, and I hear this crashing downstairs. And it wakes me up, and I'm thinking, oh my God, if I was a fearful person, I'd be really scared right now, thinking I'm alone in the house and there's people downstairs. And then I'm like, get over your fear. This is not what's happening. That's just you engaging in fear. It's just a picture. Another picture has fallen off the wall. So I go downstairs and sure enough, one of Annika's little paintings that she does has come off the wall. And I'm like, okay, that's good. Okay, no burglars. And then the next day I go to Bunnings. And I'm talking to the lady in Bunnings about getting some more sticky stuff because my pictures kept coming off the wall. And I was telling her about how many pictures have flown off the wall. She said, yeah, well, it could be the problem in the sticky stuff. Or it could be ghosts, right? She says to me. And I said, yeah, it could be the ghosts. And we laugh. And it still doesn't connect. And then I get this message from my ex-husband saying that his mother died just past midnight. And it still didn't connect until I had a friend over that night. And I was talking about it, and she said, oh, that was Bubby showing you that she was leaving. That's her knocking Annika's art off the wall. And we're talking about this, and then a door slams, it's just the two of us in the house. So I tuned into Bubby, and she was laughing. I said, God, I'm being haunted by Bubby, because it was scary. The picture falling off the wall, I was scared. The door slamming, I was also scared. I went into the fear response. And then when I tuned into her, she was laughing, because that was the sort of practical joke person she was too, that she was haunting me. So I shared this when a week or so later, when he sent me a text saying, we're cremating her remains, because she didn't want a funeral. We're cremating my mummy's remains today. I shared that whole story with him. And I said, she also says that keep talking to her because she can hear you. And he took ages to come back to me, but he came back and he said, thank you so much, Karen. So he is a non-believer, but it really sank in. And I shared something with this non-believer. He's not a complete non-believer. He's a bit on the fence. But I shared something with this non-believer. And it really, it had that desired effect that, yeah, you know, she's not gone. She's still here, even though her body's gone. She's 100. She had a good innings, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
But what's happening with the questions? Gosh, have I missed a million questions? So maybe I'll just get you to tune into her. Oh, wow. Hello, lovely ladies. Hello, dying one. Gosh, my house is old. What are you saying here, Mish? Any old souls buried anywhere? ED, I've had that too. I had a dream about a man at work who had a mole that had changed color, and it took me hours to pluck up the courage. He told me he had been sunbathing and had a weird mole. Oh, okay. Maybe they're talking amongst themselves. I don't think. Oh, here's a question from Vladdy. I think Vladdy asked, he wanted some guidance as well. Did I miss that? Ask your question again, because as I'm talking, I'm missing all the questions. Is there anything my friend Lars needs to know right now about his current situation and his mother? More clarity, it would be good, Vladdy. What's happening in his current situation and what's happening with his mother?
When the question came through, I just got hit in the back of my head. So I don't know if there's something wrong with either his mental or her mental health or her mental state, but like I have a terrible pain in my head right now. Can you be more specific? Because it's strange because I have this fuzziness around the situation. So that doesn't always happen, but whenever I get hit in the head, I feel like there was either an accident or some drastic change of the circumstances. All I'm getting is that the current situation is changing. It's ebb and flow, meaning that it peaks and valleys, and you have to ride the main, like just stay steady. Don't go super anxious when you hit when your fear and your situation goes off one end or the other. Stay steady on the course. And whose head?
Okay, Vladdy says that she transitioned a while ago, taking a ton of pills. I suspect that's Lars's mother that transitioned, so she took her life.
Okay. Okay, so that would be why there was the fuzziness, because with her death, she wasn't thinking clearly. She wasn't, and that's the hesitation. She took the pills. She takes a lot of times when people that have some responsibility for their ending, there's a fuzziness around it or a hesitation because they always fear that people will be mad or won't understand.
Vladdy, can you put her name? I find Sandy might want to be, but when I get somebody's name, I get their energy stamp, and I'm like, as soon as I get somebody's name, can you put her name in there? So I think that you want to relay a message to Lars from her, right? Because he's obviously traumatized that his mother killed him herself.
She's left a lot of unfinished business for him to handle, and she apologizes for that. She wasn't thinking clearly when she did this, but she says, but he can handle it. She's sorry that she left so much a mess, and that it ended the way it did, because however she was found, she was not expecting that person to find her. And so she's sorry that happened that way. The big thing is she wants to be clear that she's sorry about the mess she left behind, both figuratively and literally. And he can lean into her energy, because what she couldn't cope with when she was here, she can now help with. So if she's left a lot of legal or financial situations, call on her. She says, it was my responsibility. I'll help. It's just in a different way. But do not doubt that she did not do this as punishment to him, or as a direct result of any words that they spoke together. And it was just her mental state. Nothing. He should accept no blame or no fault, and know that from where she is now, she's very sorry that she did not more clearly show her love and the care and concern that she truly had. But know now that she wants to find ways to show it now. And if he's open to it, she will give him signs and assistance along the way. And in the meantime, understand that she is apologetic for what she did, but she says she had no choice with the way her mindset was.
Yeah. And Vladdy, I'm going to say to you too, just like I said to Desley, what does this mean to you? Because again, you want to be there to comfort your friend Lars because he's in trauma, and you have it within you to find the words and the spiritual guidance that he needs at this time. Like, you have that within you. You don't need myself or Sandy to give you those words. I'm going to say this to you, though. I'm going to give you this. With suicide, it's such a selfish act. The people that are left behind are so traumatized from someone that for the ones left behind, it makes them really look at their own selfishness. So if I've been so hurt by the action of somebody else, how can I not be that selfish? How can I not hurt somebody like that? So there is a spiritual lesson for him in that, that will make him feel less selfishly self-focused and be more giving, like after he overcomes his trauma. But as I said, I want you to tune in, because you know how to do this. Tune into that guidance, because you have it within you to share with him exactly what he needs to. And he might not hear it the first time or the next time or the next time or the next time, but it will sink in and he'll hear it. Yeah.
I had a niece that committed suicide. And she said the message she left her parents was, "This is the happiest day on earth for me because I get to leave it." And it was very traumatic, very unexpected, and nobody saw it coming. And but in seeing how all the people around her, our family, struggled with it, and all the trauma and drama that it caused, my other niece, in a totally, not the same, not a sister, she said, I've had thoughts of self-harm, but seeing what it's done to our family, I don't think I can ever do it again. I don't think I want to ever entertain that thought. So Nikki, my niece, told me in one time, she said, well, then I served my purpose.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Thank you for reiterating that. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Gosh. Anyway, and Laurie, hi Laurie. Laurie says, is there any message from my dad, and what is he doing on the other side? Again, if you have names, Vladdy said that he doesn't know Lars's mother's name, but he'll ask him, and that Lars is living with him now. And yeah, so, and it's the middle of the night. It's like 2:00 in the morning, and because he's in Germany.
Okay.
But Laurie, maybe you don't need names. I need names. But can you tune into Laurie's dad? You're good at that.
He's laughing. He says, what kind of message do you want? Did I not tell you often enough? What do you want? If you don't know by this time what I have to say to you, I'll repeat it one more time. I love you. enjoyed my, that's an interesting way to put it. He says, I enjoyed my entire experience with you, good, bad, and ugly. And he says, and what am I doing on this side? I'm having a hell of a time. And that doesn't mean that I'm anywhere not so good. It means that I am enjoying, I have more freedom. I can do what I want. And you know what? I do no harm to others here. He said, what I do now is he goes, I got assigned, or I chose as my journey to help spread laughter. And he said, I didn't do enough of that when I was there. And so anytime that you hear someone laugh, that means I'm close by. And he said, and don't worry, I am always close by. So don't think, oh, just one more person laughing. Oh, that's my dad. He goes, yes, it is. Don't get smart with me.
He's sassy. We love your dad. Okay, so Desi's got back to us. We were talking about her friend who had stage 4 cancer, and will she ever find peace was the question. And Desley says, oh, Karen, yes. She has told me she will never be at peace, and yes, therefore difficult to discuss. Any thoughts on dying? Well, I know. It's like I was trying to discuss, the inevitability of Annika's, my daughter's grandmother, dying. And she's like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. I know. It is difficult to discuss when people are in resistance. Thank you, Sandy, for your insights, knowing that peace will eventually prevail. Peace always prevails, but we come here to experience the traumas that life affords us as souls. And the challenge is, can I return to love inside the problem? Can I return to peace? Can I find my source? Can I find who I really am inside the illusion? These are the challenges we give each other. And when we were talking about grumpy souls on the other side saying, I'm pissed off that I died. So we give ourselves these challenges. We don't fulfill it. We set up the problems in our lives, and then we get angry and frustrated and sick and resentful and hateful and bitter. And then we die and we go, I did it again.
Yes.
I know I can do better next time. I know I can find love next time. I know I can remember my source next time. Make it harder next time, make the challenges more next time. So it is difficult, but it is totally possible. And the challenge for you, Desley, as a healer, as a health practitioner, is to be at peace with her situation and ask you. I often find when I'm in judgment, I've done this online, when I'm in judgment because people are annoying me and I'm in my judgment, I just quiet my mind and I say to my guides, what do you want to say to her? And then the words just spill out. And as I'm speaking them, I'm thinking, oh, they are just beautiful words. And it totally knocks people out of their critical, judgmental, angry minds, because sometimes my ego can't find the words, but my soul can. So practice that, darling. Good for you to speak to your higher self, her higher self. What does her higher self want her to know? Is always a great question to ask when it's hard to find the words because people are angry and upset about their situation. What does their higher self want them to know?
It always amazes me when people come for a session, and one of the very first questions they always ask is, are they okay? And it's just so funny because this is where we're not okay. I mean, this is where we work to be okay. On that side, it is what it is. Okay it's better than okay. And I don't think I've ever had, even the lady that was angry was like, yeah, I'm okay now. It's just that I didn't get to do this and I didn't get to see my grandchild born. And she said, but I did get to warn my grandchild before he came down about the crazy people he was entering with. And I laugh at that. But it always amazes me how many people need to be told that their loved ones on the other side are at peace and are fine.
I know. It's amazing. It's the conditioning that we have about who we are. Is they okay? I feel like the reverse is when somebody incarnates into a physical body and they, like in our understanding, they come from spirit into the physical. The spirit guide's going, are they okay down there?
Yeah. And that would be more the question, I think.
Yeah. Sarah Jane says,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, Vladdy says, yeah, he lives with me now. And then he found out his flatmate's mother's name is Uta.
His what?
Was Lars's. Uta. German name. It was Lars's mother's name, the lady that killed herself. All right. Sarah Jane says, is my mum a cat part of my soul essence? I think you know the answer to that, Sarah Jane.
Are you, if you're asking me, always, your animals are all part of your soul's journey. They are what are supposed to teach us. One of the things I learned is, you say, I want to love somebody fully and completely, then you need to love someone like a dog, is what I always get.
Right.
People can be cruel and harsh to their dogs, and those dogs just come back and want more to show you, wait, but I love you more. And so I was saying, I don't know how we got on the subject, but I was talking to someone about, I know a friend of mine said, I love my dog like a child. And she said, so is that good for me? And the answer came back, you should hope that you love your dog like the dog loves you.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Without judgment, without fear, and whatever you give me, I'll take. And you sit there and go, well, all right. So I always laugh when somebody says that. I go, no, you're supposed to love people like dogs love people. And they all go,
yeah, exactly. Unconditional love. I know. Now, I haven't done a station ID break. You are listening to Accentuate the Positive Media, Awakening and Expanding Consciousness with Karen Swain. We are doing Spirit Speaks today with the beautiful Sandra Marie, Sandy, a psychic medium, and we are answering your questions. And we are on the United Public Radio Network, the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 107.7 and 105.3 FM syndicated radio all over the place, coming out of New Orleans and the Gulf Coast and all sorts of places. It's amazing how this all works. The tech of this is incredible. I hit at the moment, the show is receiving about almost 500,000 live listeners. I think the last time I got the stats a few weeks ago, it was 450 something thousand people tuned in, which is pretty amazing, isn't it? Through the network. And we're on, we've got quite a few people online asking questions. Sorry if we haven't been getting your questions, but we've got 10 minutes left actually of the show. Hasn't that gone quickly? It went so quickly.
Yes.
So, thanks, Laurie. She gave $5. Thank you. Oh, that's so nice. I never get people donating money. It's great when people do. Thank you so much.
I didn't know you could do that.
How to get, then you can do super chats and stuff like that. I haven't actually figured out how to get the money from YouTube. I'll have to figure that out. But hardly everyone ever donates to me on YouTube, so there's only probably about $20 in the account. Charlotte here. Can you feel any energy with the name of Robin or Stephen, deceased loved ones that I miss beyond measure?
I'm getting Stephen right away, and Stephen is telling me, is saying to ask you to please continue to do the things you would have done with him, because he can do whatever he wants, but if you do it, then he can experience it with you, which enhances both of your experience. He said, don't quit enjoying what you all did. And I feel like there was a group of you that did it. I don't know if it's like, if you did, like there was a group that went on trips or whatever, but whatever he's clarifying, I see skis for some reason. So I don't know if you were going to go skiing with him or if you guys went on ski trips, but he's saying, don't limit yourself because the group has gotten less or because there are less people to enjoy it with, because the more you enjoy life, the more they can watch. And when you bring them along, when you consciously say, hey, come on, I know he's with us and stuff, that gives them grace on the other side to be able to do more to spread light and love on this side. And sometimes it blows my mind, some of the things they say, like if you think too hard on that, you're like, wait, I give them grace, but then they can give it back. So it's the same thing as dropping the pebble in the water and letting the ripples spread out. It's just a different kind of lake.
Yeah, beautiful. Here's a great question from me. This is great. You've thought about this. Has there been someone who has passed who was an alien abductee and talks about it from the other side? And I want to say to you, heaps of people, heaps and heaps and heaps and heaps of people. Here's the thing about that. Yeah. When people are reaching out to spirit, like loved ones, what what's happening in the collective mind of humanity at the moment is that they're looking for confirmation that they're still connected. They're looking for confirmation that life exists after death. These are the sort of things people are asking spirit more than tell me about your abduction. So even though there are heaps of people that have been abducted by aliens, like just so many, I'm just seeing just millions, they're not really going to talk about that from spirit, because that's not really the, remember I said spirit has a lot to share with us, but because we have free will, we have to ask, we have to summon, the energy. We have to ask for what we want because we have free will to think and be, exactly how we want to be. And usually people are not asking that question, but it is for those who are still incarnate, that are still alive, that have had that experience. It's for them to share that experience, because it's going to be, an alien abduction is in the mind of the mainstream humanity, the collective consciousness. It's already woo-woo enough. So to hear a spirit talking about it is kind of going to knock people around. So it's those physical people to share their experiences, to let humanity know that this is real. And when we talk about abduction, it's more about a contract that you have with your soul, that you're going to connect with your galactic family, and you come into this life as a human, but you're still connected. And because we're human and we have egos and minds and free will, we forget that contract. We forget that agreement that we've had with our galactic family. And so when we have these abduction experiences, usually fear and terror, just like me, who understands that there's nothing to be scared about, when I'm hearing bangs and doors slamming, my bubby ninny's haunting me, I still go into that sort of human fear response. There's that fear response, and then we have to get over that fear response. And I've spoken to many abductees who took ages to get over the fear response, and they realized that their soul had set this up, and these people abducting them were all part of their soul group and spirit family. But yeah, it's for people to share that who are incarnate rather than the ones that are not. But that's I like that question. That's really cool.
Can I add to that though?
We got 4 minutes, 2 minutes.
Okay, real quick. Trevor, I don't know who Trevor is for, but Trevor came through and said, I'm one. And he says it's all good. Once you're on this side, you understand why it all happened. You understand what it means. And you realize that it's a drop in the bucket, but it was your drop in the bucket. So it was his journey to carry out and to experience. But he wants you to know that whoever Trevor's reaching out to, because he's not telling me a name, but he says Trevor will ring a bell for whomever. And he says, I was one, and I stand by my thing. By my statements I made, and y'all didn't believe me then, but you better believe me now.
Hey, Trevor. Okay, we've run out of time. We're at time. Nella says here, when will I meet my true love? And I want to end the show on this. Darling one, you are your true love. Everyone is looking for love outside themselves. Love is within you. When you fall in love with yourself, and when I say yourself, not only who you are as a soul and a spirit, but who you are as a personality and an ego, and your conditioned thought forms, and all your fears and all your loves and all your anxieties and all your panics and everything about you, when you fall in love with the wholeness of who you are as the human that you have designed, because remember, the higher self designs your ego and personality. You choose the family that you come into. You choose what you inherit on your DNA. When you fall in love with all of that, someone else will fall in love with that too. But you don't need that love outside yourself to feel love. Feeling love is feeling that connection to your source. And really, that is the journey here on earth. We partner with people here in this physical dimension because we feel like we need support in this journey. But usually those partnerships can turn into more trauma than they're worth. But everyone's looking for love in all the wrong places. Love is within you. And when you fall in love with every aspect of yourself, there will be someone walking beside you that will fall in love with all of it too. You put out that energy. Yeah. So we've got to go. Thank you, everybody. And Mish says thank you. And thanks again. Was it Laurie for the $5 super chat? Thank you. And if anybody else wants to put in super chats, please go ahead. Yeah, Laurie says that she just worked out how to do it. I know. I didn't even know if I had that turned on. I have to have a look at that because I never watch my own shows. But I know that it is turned on because, we've had the channel for ages. And if you want a mediumship reading from Sandra Marie, go to sandramariemedium.com, right?
Yes,
and in the link, you'll see under the shows, there's a link to my website where you can see all Sandy's other shows that we've done together and Sandy's links there. And if you want some guidance from my spirit guides or your higher self, or to know who you are, why you're here, and, to sort some stuff out, go to karenswain.com and send me a message and we can set up a time for you. And thanks again, Sandy. This was so much fun.
Thank you. I had a great time. Thank you so much, and love to all. I appreciate the questions. It was great. I especially like Trevor.
Yeah, thanks everybody for your great questions. It was fun, wasn't it, Pat? It was really cool. It was really, really cool. Thanks, sweet Mish. Thanks everybody for being online. Great show, ladies. Thank you. Got to go. Big love to all of you, and we'll do this again in another couple of months. I'm so booked out. The shows. I've got to remember to find time. It might be September or October, I think, until we can do this. But Sandy and I have to work out another. I wanted to do them monthly, but just so many people want to come on the shows. I could be booked out for a year.
Good problem to have, Karen.
It's a good problem to have. Yeah. Big love to everyone. Bye for now.
Bye, everybody.